The Dyatlov Group tragedy is one of the most mysterious stories of the 20th century. For more than 60 years, it has continued to trouble researchers and inspire countless shocking theories. Why did 9 people never return from their expedition? What really happened during that fatal February night? Was it UFOs, secret government agencies, or was the truth far more ordinary? Subscribe and turn on notifications. Soon, everything will become clear. Theory of everything. The Dyatlov Group route, a dangerous journey. On January 23, 1959, a group from the Ural Polytechnic Institute's hiking club, led by Igor Dyatlov, set out on a Category 3 expedition, the highest difficulty level at the time. Such routes often lasted more than 2 weeks, crossed multiple mountain passes, and required serious physical and technical preparation. Each participant carried a heavy backpack filled with equipment, personal belongings, and food supplies meant to last 18 days. The planned duration of the trip to their final destination, the settlement of Vizhai. Ahead of them were 350 kilometers on skis and the ascent of 2 snow-covered peaks in the northern Urals, Otorten and Oykhachakur. The group consisted of 9 people, 6 students, Igor Dyatlov, Zenaida Kolmogorova, Yuri Doroshenko, Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolevatov, and Yuri Yudin, and 3 graduates, Rustem Slobodin, Nikolai Thibault Brignol, and Yuri Krivonishenko. The average age of the hikers was just over 20. Despite their youth, all members were experienced winter travelers with second-category certifications. Dyatlov himself had already completed a third-category expedition in the polar Urals. Later, the group was joined by 38-year-old instructor Semyon Zolotaryov from a local tourist base. The route was officially approved, and the expedition followed a reindeer trail used by the indigenous Mansi people. At first, everything went smoothly. Nothing hinted at the tragedy ahead. However, during the very first overnight stop, Yuri Yudin was forced to turn back due to severe leg pain. He would become the only survivor of the group. From that point on, the fate of the Dyatlov hikers is known only through their diary entries. January 28th, the first 30 minutes have passed. The backpack is heavy but manageable. The first day is always the hardest. Around the 7th day of the journey, on January 31st, or February 1st, the group reached Mount Kholat Syakhl, translated from the Mansi language as Mountain of the Dead. They began their ascent too late in the day. As darkness fell over the slope, the group decided to pitch their tent and wait out the night. This decision is reflected in the final photographs later recovered from their film. Of course, I had planned for a more comfortable campsite, but we work with what we have. That choice would prove fatal. This is where the group would meet their end. But when would they be found? And what terrifying secrets would the search reveal? The last camp, 3 weeks after the expedition began, relatives grew deeply concerned. The group was supposed to reach Vizhai on February 12th and send a telegram. They were expected to return to Sverdlovsk by February 15th. At first, the head of the sports club tried to calm the families, explaining that Yuri Yudin had mentioned possible delays. Such situations were not unusual, but days passed and no news arrived. On the night of February 16th to 17, officials in Vizhai received urgent calls from relatives asking about the missing hikers. But no answers were available. Determining the exact route proved difficult because Dyatlov had failed to submit the route log. Help came from Rima Kolevatova, the sister of Alexander Kolevatov, who reconstructed the likely path. Search efforts began on February 19th. A few days later, student volunteers, experienced climbers, military personnel, investigators, and local Mansi hunters joined the operation. The hunters were the first to report signs of a recent campsite near the Auspia River. 4 days later, rescuers reached the area and found something deeply disturbing. The discovery of the camp and what followed gave rise to dozens of myths and theories surrounding the Dyatlov Pass. Searchers first noticed the tent, partially buried in snow and badly torn. All personal belongings were still inside. Warm clothing, skis, knives, medicine, and food supplies. There were no signs of panic or struggle. Even money and documents remained untouched. Soon after, the bodies were found. Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko were discovered about 1.5 kilometers from the tent, nearly naked, beside the remains of a small fire. Roughly 300 meters closer to the tent lay Igor Dyatlov, facing uphill, his arm wrapped around a small birch tree. He wore no shoes, only socks, and little outer clothing. Zinaida Kolmogorova and Rustem Slobodin were found even closer, buried under snow. Despite wearing warm clothes, they had frozen to death. The remaining 4 hikers were discovered only in spring, beneath snow near a ravine. On and near their bodies was clothing cut from Krivonishenko and Doroshenko, suggesting it had been removed after death. Autopsies revealed that at least 5 members of the group died from hypothermia. 4 others suffered severe internal injuries, including skull fractures, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. Damage consistent with enormous force, similar to a car crash or powerful shock wave. Traces of radiation were later found on pieces of clothing belonging to Dubinina and Kolovatov. This detail was removed from the official case file, but only deepened the mystery. The criminal investigation was closed in May 1959. The official cause of death was described as an uncontrollable natural force. No one truly explained why the hikers fled the tent in the middle of the night, why they split up, or how the injuries occurred. Decades later, these unanswered questions would lead to renewed investigations. Theories of the tragedy. The Mansi Curse. Some believed the hikers angered mountain spirits. Others suspected local hunters. However, no evidence supported this theory, and the Mansi people were officially cleared. Secret services. Another theory suggested covert intelligence operations involving the KGB or foreign agents. Modern forensic experts, however, believe many injuries were post-mortem and caused by environmental factors, UFOs. Witnesses reported glowing spheres in the sky around the time of the tragedy. Radiation findings fueled speculation about extraterrestrial involvement or secret military tests. No official missile launches were confirmed, but secrecy left room for doubt. The official conclusion: avalanche. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case. The final conclusion pointed to a snow slab avalanche. A sudden collapse of snow may have forced the hikers to flee the tent. They descended toward the forest, lit a fire, and attempted to survive. Extreme cold, hurricane-force winds, and temperatures dropping to minus 45 degrees Celsius sealed their fate. A second snow collapse likely killed the remaining 4. After 60 years, the case was officially closed. Aftermath independent tourism in the Soviet Union during the 1950s was poorly regulated. Dozens of hikers died each year. Temporary bans only worsened safety conditions. Even today, the Dyatlov Pass remains surrounded by mystery. Lost evidence and flawed early investigations ensure that new theories will continue to emerge. What do you think really happened? Could the Dyatlov group have survived? Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, and stay tuned. There's much more to come.